And now, back to the Tim Ridley Show.
It is 36 minutes past the hour. This is Tim Ridley on Sirius XM 146. Joining me is Dr. Kamin Samuel. She was the first African-American woman to be a helicopter pilot in the U.S. Navy. She has produced the upcoming documentary, Courage to Thrive, which highlights tangible tools for women to create breakthrough results despite facing adversity. Dr. Samuel served in the U.S. Navy for more than 9 years with various duties, including being a Navy flight instructor. She transitioned to civilian life and the professional business world, working at technology and media companies, and quickly climbing the corporate ladder, eventually being promoted to Vice President Global Website Operations at a billion-dollar company. Dr. Samuel, good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Tim. It's so wonderful to be here.
Well, great. So great to have you as well. And, reading through your bio, you have made a lot of accomplishments. I mean, from being the first Black female helicopter pilot in the U.S. Navy to earning your PhD degree in positive neuropsychology, and then 3 master's degrees. So you have been busy, haven't you?
I have.
And
Very
first of all,
so.
I want to thank you for your service and all that you continue to do to help people. Now, I just mentioned about your accomplishments, Dr. Samuel, and I know through the course of everything that you've done, especially being a pilot, a helicopter pilot, the first Black female, I know there were some challenges. So what were some of the challenges that you faced while breaking down gender and racial barriers in the military?
Well, it was such a wonderful experience overall, and it was very challenging for me in the very beginning because it was during an era where there hadn't been someone, a Black female prior to me. The very first one had been 7 years prior that had gotten her commission as the first in the Navy. And so with that amount of time, they really weren't expecting me, and I wasn't expecting it myself. I hadn't really thought about being an aviator until second semester senior year of college. And so I wasn't a runner. I hadn't studied aviation, and so I had a bit of catch up to do.
And I was going to ask you that. What made you decide that, what got you interested in becoming an aviator?
Well, I think really goes back to my older brother. He's actually 7 years older than me, and he was in the Naval Reserve Training Corps in college. And so he would bring his hat, his cover home, and his sword, and I would sneak into his room and put that on and play with it, and just kind of not supposed to be in his room for sure. And I really loved the idea of the Navy and traveling. And so that was really what I went in for initially, to see about going into supply corps. I wanted to be in business, and I figured if I went supply corps, then I would learn the business skills I needed. And I had taken the test. I had studied for the test. That was the second time I took it and studied and done well enough. And they said yes and offered me aviation. And I kind of considered it for a couple of weeks, which mostly they said I needed to run 1.5 miles a day and swim 1 mile. And I was like, I don't know. I tried it out. And then I said no and went back to supply corps. But a couple months later, I was on a senior trip and walking down the beach in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and a formation of helicopters flew overhead. And I was like, really, God? And the rest is kind of history. It was kind of out of my hands, so to speak. And really, I love aviation. It just wasn't something I had thought of.
Did you have a particular helicopter that you wanted to fly, or was it just that just being in the seat of an aircraft was basically the thing that you wanted? I mean, was it you would just you were willing to take whatever they gave you?
Well, Tim, that was at an era where women were not allowed in combat. And so there were few aircrafts that were really open to us. And so I chose helicopters, and the helicopter I flew, which was the CH-46C Knight, which was the double rotor on top, a very large aircraft that the Army flies, the Chinook version. And I chose that because it was a combat rated aircraft. And I knew that if we did have to go into combat, I wanted to be ready. I wanted to be mission ready. And so I chose a very challenging aircraft to fly and wanted to be prepared.
I've flown in various types of Army aircrafts and helicopters, all, of course, aircrafts. But the one that really fascinated me, well, all of them fascinated me, period. But the one that I would say that most fascinated me was because of the size, was the Chinook. And again, reading through your bio and watching the videos, the version of the U.S. Army Chinook, was the one that you flew, as you just mentioned. And I was always amazed, and still am, of the size of that helicopter, and the skills that it takes to fly those helos. And I commend you. And as a matter of fact, a lot of our listeners are either still in the military active, or one of the reserve components, or prior military, or reserve, or retired rather, and they can relate to you. Many of our listeners as well are Navy veterans, and they can relate to you on that helicopter that you flew. So that, I can imagine, with the double rotors, would be pretty challenging to fly. And I've always heard from other pilots that I've talked to that the helicopter was a lot harder to fly than a fixed wing aircraft.
Well, you have a lot of moving parts, right?
Yeah.
So both hands are moving, both feet are moving, and it is challenging, but it was such a joy flying that version of helicopter because it did not have a tail rotor. We learned on tail rotors. We learned on the Bell Jet Ranger. It was easy to maneuver. And in the Navy, one of our primary missions was called vertical replenishment. And that was where we would pick up a load underneath the aircraft. There was a hook, a 10,000-pound hook that was rated, and we would, kind of slide onto the deck of a ship and hook up. And I do have a video. We did capture video of me flying, and it's this opportunity for us to pick up a load and take it to another ship, because when we're out at sea, the battle group, doesn't get to go in to port every day. And so I was on ships that did go in, get groceries or other kind of, I was on a munitions tender as well, where we would move objects from one ship to another. And it was just so much fun to be able to do vertical replenishment, or what we called vert rep.
I saw that video and I was really impressed by that video, and again, just the sheer skills that it takes to fly a bird like that. We're going to pull over and take a break, Dr. Samuel, but when we get back, let's talk about how how that experience has shaped the rest of your life. And then, are there lessons from the Navy that you've implemented? We'll hear about that on the other side of this break, rather. Dr. Samuel is with us. This is Tim Ridley on Sirius XM.
Wait a minute. Are you running all of your rig's accessories?
All of them. You like that?
No, why would I? Your engine's turned off.
That means I ain't violating no idling laws. You like that?
No, why would I? That means you're running off your battery.
I'm running on an Odyssey battery. You like that?
No, why Wait, Did you say an Odyssey battery?
Odyssey battery, rugged, maintenance-free, thin plate pure lead technology, and massive deep cycling capability. Plenty of reserve power to run onboard accessories. Engine on or off. Twice the power, 3 times the life of conventional batteries. That's an Odyssey battery. You like that?
No, I don't like that. I love that. Wait a minute. The crickets stopped.
Odyssey hasn't.
Get yourself an Odyssey battery. Performance you can count on.
Want to reduce emission systems maintenance costs? Max Mileage Fuel Catalyst is the answer. This advanced solution promotes a longer DPF lifespan and lets you enjoy fewer regenerations by reducing your soot output by 60%. That means less downtime and more time on the road. Keep your system clean and efficient so you can focus on what matters most, getting the job done. Make the smart choice for your vehicle. Head over to PittsburghPower.com to order yours today.
Dr. Kamin Samuel is with us, and she'll be talking about, we're going to transition in a little bit to her new documentary, Courage to Thrive. That's going to be released this year. Dr. Samuel, as far as the experiences that you had in the U.S. Navy and also as an aviator, how has that experience shaped the rest of your life?
Well, it's such a great question because it shaped everything for me, because I'd like to think of the idea of this discipline that we had to learn to be first in the Navy and then to be a pilot, and wanting to be the best, right? For me, especially as the first in helicopters, I really wanted to be excellent. I really wanted for me to set the bar very high so that women, African Americans, would have to be seen differently than any prejudice that might have come before me. And I was really blessed because being the first one, they didn't know how to judge me. And it gave me an opportunity to be excellent and to show what we could do. And that level of excellence went into, my life, leadership, being able to tactically plan, missions, whether they're in the military or in corporate or in my everyday life. And I think also I would say it shaped my level of service and being willing to serve this country and being willing to, put everything on the line in service to it.
Well, let's transition to the documentary, the upcoming documentary that's going to be released this year. So, Courage to Thrive, which highlights tangible tools for women to create breakthrough results despite facing adversity. So, let's talk about that, Dr. Samuel.
Well, it really started with me. When I got out of the Navy and the military, I wasn't prepared. And I went into business. I thought I knew everything. I thought I knew what I was doing, and I failed miserably. And it really started the day before I got out, and I was expecting a large check from the military. I'd saved up all my vacation, and it didn't come. They took it because I had planned to be in. I had signed a contract to be in much longer, and I knew I had to pay it back. And when I didn't get that check, I immediately thought and said out loud, I'm going to have to file bankruptcy. Now, I didn't remember having to file that or having that thought prior, but that thought rolled around for 14 months until I ended up filing bankruptcy and had the foreclosure of 2 homes. And I really found that I had rehearsed that inside of me so long. If I don't do X, if I don't follow through on this, I'm going to have to file. And it was this inside upset with myself and paralyzed by fear and worry and shame that really took me down into struggle and despair. And the film came out of, I used everything that I learned during that period of time to grow myself into a corporate career, as you said, being an executive, a global vice president, now business coach and filmmaker, I've had to use the courage to overcome that despair, to, survive that, because I really didn't want to survive, and then find a way and find a path to thrive. And it's the work I do with people pretty much every day in my business, is really help them find that inner courage to overcome whatever it is that they're going through, whatever has them stuck, to find out what does thriving mean to them. And so we decided to create a documentary, and you get to watch me coach 3 amazing women, one of which is an Army Master Sergeant of 22 years. And it's helping people really see how much strength and courage they have.
And sometimes you just don't realize that you have that courage. I mean, when you're faced with adversity like that, I mean, you have to really think and dig from within to realize that, or to have someone to coach you, such as yourself, to let you know that you have it. But it's hard to find it when you're faced with that, isn't it?
Yes. And like I said, I really had to go deep, because I did not want to survive it. I did not want to survive what I had gotten myself into. My family didn't know, and I really thought, well, if I could survive this, what would it take? And I realized that if it was inside of me to create this mayhem, what if I changed what I believed about myself and my thoughts? And for most people, and we see this in the film with Carmen and Ariel and Serene, each of them carried something inside of them, a certain stuckness, that they had to find out that, oh, I am strong. I have these amazing strengths. I can use those at any given moment to move into flow, to find my way, to excel in my life. And that's really the message of hope that I have for everyone, is that there's nothing you can't overcome. And each person has strengths and abilities and their own level of grit inside of them, that they can survive anything and choose to thrive. And it's really a choice, not just to survive, but to thrive.
Absolutely, and that is so true. Dr. Samuel, we talked about the lessons that you learned from the military and also being an aviator. Were there also experiences that you had that actually had a negative effect?
I think the biggest negative effect was leaving the military, honestly, and not being prepared, because it was long before some of the things that they have in place today. Being away from my family was not necessarily a negative effect, but I had to learn to survive somewhat on my own and to develop my own skills and my own network of people. And one of the things that I talk about with Carmen in the film is this idea of, we serve our country and we kind of leave our family, and then we create a new family in the service, and then we leave that family. And that can sometimes be a part of that searching, that we don't know where to land and don't know where to be and who to create, because we don't feel like we can always go back and create the life that we had before. And so Encourage to Thrive, and people can look that up and go see the trailer at CourageToThrive_doc.com, or DM me on Instagram at CourageToThrive_doc, and get resources that we have about overcoming shame and embarrassment and really creating and designing their life.
The emotional baggage is, as you were just talking about, Dr. Samuel, is sometimes, well, it can be very devastating, and you feel that there's nowhere to turn, and there's nothing I can do. I'm doomed. So in addition to some of the things that you just mentioned, how do you break through the emotional baggage when it seems that all of that baggage is piled up on you?
Oh, that's such a great question. And I think kind of like to think of it if it's baggage, we can actually just drop the baggage is the first thing, is to realize that we're carrying baggage and we can put it down. You know, we had those sea bags, right, that were super heavy. We could just put it down and unpack them. And we can unpack them in many different ways. And some of it is just letting it go completely and not picking it back up and not looking at it, or going to therapy, getting a coach. I used a lot of reading to discover, you know, how I got into debt and how to get out of it. And I think it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's also understanding that each person has these amazing strengths. In the film, I used 2 assessments with the ladies, and one of which is the VIA Character Strengths, which is viacharacter.org, and it's a free assessment. And I found it in a book called Flourish by Dr. Martin Seligman, and it's a assessment that they gave to the Army a lot of the times. And it's such an opportunity for people to see they have 24 strengths. And I recommend people find out their strengths or live into, you know, pick some strengths. And those were like, you know, honesty and humor, creativity and bravery. And an interesting story, and I'd like to honor you too, Dr. Ridley, is
Sure.
that that when I taught a class many years ago called Transition to Success to the Army, and they were Army professionals, veterans coming out in Italy, and this was during the pandemic. And I gave that assessment to all of the Army professionals that were in that program, and not one of them scored bravery in the top 5. And that was a surprise to me. Is it a surprise to you?
Yes, yes. Well, actually, no, it's not a surprise to me. I can, and yes, I can understand why it was a surprise to you, but no, it does not surprise me the least bit right there. And on that note, Dr. Samuel, our time has caught up with us, and I want to make sure that you get that information out to our listeners again, how they can watch this documentary and also find out more about you.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for having me. And the URL to go to watch the trailer and get some resources are couragetothrive.com, or they can DM me at couragetothrive_doc on Instagram.
All right. Well, Dr. Samuel, again, thank you so much for joining us, and we thank you for all you do and all that you continue to do to help others.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day. All right. We appreciate each and every one of you as well. And thank you so much for stopping by the fellowship meeting this morning. We always look forward to it. We always look forward to our fellowship with you. And make sure you continue to fellowship with others as well. Be a people builder, not a people destroyer. Help lift somebody up. Give them a hand up and not a hand down. Put a smile on somebody's face today as well, because you better believe that there's somebody out there who needs that smile. And we appreciate you. Have a great day, and we certainly look forward to seeing you via radio tomorrow morning, 0400 Central, on the Tim Ridley Show on Sirius XM 146. Be safe and enjoy your day.